I'm Leland Vittert. Good evening. As we come on the air tonight, there are a few facts that are indisputable, and all of them are troubling for President Biden. It's clear his hope to put Afghanistan in the rearview mirror is just a hope. There is a revolt by both progressives and moderates in the Democratic Party over his massive spending plans, and he has less political capital than ever to get things done. Here's the proof. Just look at his poll numbers. 236 days into office, 4.5% more Americans disapprove of the president's job than approve. By contrast, at the same time in his presidency, President Obama was 6 points above water. That is a 15-point difference. Never before has a Democratic president been this tough politically, in this tough of a situation politically, so early in his term. In recent memory, only President Trump had worse numbers. The current president's political difficulties began before the Afghanistan withdrawal debacle, but any hopes by the Biden administration that they could move on from the withdrawal were dashed today when the Secretary of State testified before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. It did not go well.
Can you guarantee to this committee that we will get them out?
Have any Americans been arrested, beaten, abducted, or killed by the Taliban or ISIS-K since we left?
Your bizarre abandoning of Bagram airfield led directly to 13 Marines murdered in Kabul. You should resign.
Was it part of your plan to rely on the Taliban to ensure the safety of Americans trying to flee the country? Because that's what happened.
Did state at any point in the evacuation process block American citizens from leaving Afghanistan?
No, we did not.
None. Your testimony before Congress is that state didn't block any American citizens leaving Afghanistan.
To the contrary, my officers, men and women, ran into the building from around the world to help Americans get out.
It's a simple yes or no. I heard you do it with Mr. Connolly. You can do it with me. Yes or no? I just want to clarify. You didn't block anybody. State didn't block any American citizens.
No.
You say you got a plan to get those people out of there, but they can't get on an airplane without documents. You have nobody over there to print them documents. How are they going to get out of there? What is your plan?
Congressman Mark Green, you just saw there, I'll be here in a minute. President Biden essentially ran on three things. Ending the war in Afghanistan, well, that ended in a well-documented disaster. Getting COVID under control, even Mr. Biden says things are going in the wrong direction. And a massive New Deal, rewriting the social contract in America with a $3.5 trillion spending plan that touches every American's life from cradle to grave. Tonight, those spending plans are in real trouble. Just a minute from now, we're going to explain to you what you may or may not get from the government and how much your taxes are going to go up to pay for all these things. Clearly, there's a lot of things going on behind the doors at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to unpack it all with the best and brightest in politics. We begin with Congressman Mark Green, who, as you saw, spent the day inside that really extraordinary hearing with the Secretary of State. Congressman, appreciate you being with us. It would be hard for anybody to have been harder on the Biden administration over the past 6 weeks than you were with their Afghanistan policy. Is there anything that you heard from the Secretary today that changed your mind?
Absolutely not, Leland. Thanks for having me on your show. I was disgusted because all I heard was the same stuff we've heard from President Trump. President Biden, which is to blame it on President Trump. And Blinken got in there today and just did a lot of winking and nodding and basically gave us the same story. It's all Trump's fault. It's all the intel community's fault.
All right, well, we'll give the Secretary his say. Here is him saying essentially that it's all President Trump's fault. Take a listen.
Congressman, the deal that the previous administration struck involved, as you rightly said, committing to remove all U.S. forces from Afghanistan by May 1st of this year. And in addition, as that deal was being negotiated and then put into effect, pressing the Afghan government to release these 5,000 prisoners, many of whom went back to the battlefield. And at the same time, in return, getting from the Taliban a few commitments.
Doesn't he have a point that President Trump is the one who negotiated with terrorists and made a deal with the devil?
So President Trump did make a deal, but it was conditions-based. And on 3 occasions in the last year of his time in office, he stopped the withdrawal and bombed the Taliban back into compliance. In the start of this Biden administration, they failed to do that. as the Taliban made gain after gain. They didn't stop. In fact, they withdrew air power. It withdrew intelligence support for the ground force, which was the Afghans. They saw us as basically abandoning them. And then with the pullout in Bagram, I mean, it was obvious we were doing just that. So that's when they basically melted into the countryside.
As we were watching the hearing today and then some of the sound bites, we noticed that the secretary wasn't there. Seemed kind of unusual for him not to be in the hearing room. Any idea why not?
Well, I think the Chairman Meeks, gave him a pass and basically said, you don't need to be there. We're not in session. But, the truth of the matter is there was a lot of impassioned testimony or questioning of him, and it would have been good for him to be there. He missed seeing the emotion that is on really even Democrats. There were several of the Democrats who were pretty passionate.
They were. I'm also interested. Did you get any sense of emotion from him and understanding what's happened, what's gone wrong, and perhaps even not necessarily accepting responsibility, but at least an acknowledgement of how badly this has gone and what's happened to America's prestige around the world?
No, not at all. And in fact, Leland, I specifically, throughout the testimony, he basically said NATO was in agreement, that they had worked together on the withdrawal plan. I very quickly, when I got the opportunity, pointed out that a member of Parliament on the floor of the House of Commons called his withdrawal shameless or shameful, and then basically said the United Kingdom should disconnect or become less dependent on the United States. So you can't, I mean, it was just smoke and mirrors from Blinken today.
Well, and there's another hearing tomorrow. We'll cover it. Congressman Mark Green with us in Washington tonight. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. They're talking about this in Washington, too. There's even more concerning news out of Afghanistan. Remember this guy? His name's Ayman al-Zawahiri, Osama bin Laden's number 2 in al-Qaeda. Apparently, he is alive. This is the New York Post headline. We're going to get a picture of him for you in a little while. He's apparently alive and calling for new attacks on the West. Intelligence experts thought he was dead back in December, but a new video throws cold water on that theory. We're going to dive into whether al-Qaeda has the ability to attack the United States in just a few minutes. As we mentioned, the Afghanistan hearing could not have come at a worse time for the Biden administration. He needs all the political capital he can get right now to corral literally every Democratic senator and all but a handful of Democrats in the House to get in line between 2 massive spending bills. Normally, agreeing to spend money is an easy sell in Washington, especially among Democrats, but not now. Progressives and moderates can't even come close to agreeing on how much to spend. Thus, Republicans smell blood in the water. The divide is best explained this way. There are 2 bills. The first one has bipartisan support and looks to spend about $1 trillion on infrastructure, things like roads, bridges, and high-speed internet. Then there is a $3.5 trillion bill that spends money on social programs. No better than Bernie Sanders to tell you all of the wonderful things that are in that big bill.
We've got to lower the cost of prescription drugs for people. We've got to expand Medicare to include dental, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. We have to maintain the $300 direct payment we're giving to working parents, which have lowered childhood poverty in America by 50%. And I'll tell you what else we have got to do. The scientists will tell us that we got a few years left before there will be irreversible harm to our planet if we do not address climate change.
Sanders and other progressives plan to pay for the bill with a massive tax hike, meaning American companies would pay more in taxes than those in communist China. Some New Yorkers would keep less than 40% of their income, an effective tax rate of 61.2% on the richest New Yorkers, or 59% for the most wealthy in California. President Biden says he supports both bills, but he may not get the opportunity to sign them because Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, says the big one is just too big.
He will not have my vote on 3.5, and Chuck knows that, and we've talked about this. We've already put out $5.4 trillion, and we've tried to help Americans in every way we possibly can. And a lot of the help that we put out there is still there, and it's going to run clear until next year, 2022. What's the urgency?
Now for the kicker. progressives say they won't support the $1 trillion bill unless moderates agree to pass the $3.5 trillion bill at the same time. And thus, the make or break moment for President Biden. If he can't convince either side to budge by Nancy Pelosi's deadline of September 27th, well, it'll be another kick in the teeth for the Biden administration. At a time like this, it helps to hear from a radical centrist. We bring in Democratic Mayor Philip Levine, who was mayor of Miami Beach and oversaw much of the city's growth and prosperity. Mayor, appreciate you being with us as always. Always try to be fair here on the program. As you listen to me lay this out, did I miss any bright spots potentially for the White House?
No, you didn't at all. And I think the most important thing is the Democrats should be praying to the God of Senator Manchin, because by listening to Senator Manchin, they actually may salvage the midterm elections next year. If they don't, and for some reason they want to flood the economy with so much cash that's really not needed right now and make employers unable to absolutely hire anybody, then I think the Democrats could kiss next year goodbye. So they should really be praying to the God centrism of Senator Manchin at this point.
Have you seen any of the progressives, either in the Senate or especially in the House, bow to that altar?
Well, right now I don't see it. But the reality is that when you think about some of these progressives, a lot of these progressives are able to win in progressive districts. They don't win statewide. They don't necessarily win nationwide. They win in progressive districts. So listening to them is pulling us so far left. You know what the problem is when you hear Senator Sanders? Senator Sanders wants a different system. Senator Sanders would like a socialist system. But unfortunately, or fortunately for us, we live in a capitalist system. So his program doesn't fit what we are about right now. By the way, as Senator Manchin said, we have trillions that are still unspent. And companies can't even find employees. We're about to have inflation. Do we want to go back to the 1970s and have a remake of the Carter years? Is that what the Democrats would like to see? Because right after that, Reagan won the election.
It's interesting you brought up Ronald Reagan, because this headline caught our eye from The Hill. Can Biden make a comeback? What history teaches us and doesn't. American voters are results-oriented. Today, they care about one thing: ending the pandemic. Biden understands that. His speech outlining vaccine mandates can be summarized in 2 words: leadership and control. If voters perceive Biden as controlling the pandemic and leading the country out of its lockdowns, he will recover. If not, he won't. The argument from the progressives will, you need this spending to get us out of the pandemic.
No, but I think it's absolutely wrong. The pandemic will end when we're able to get as many people vaccinated as possible. The economy is blowing up. The economy is moving forward. There's so much cash sloshing around. I mean, have you looked lately at the Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Chanel bailout program? Have you seen the amount of money being spent in these stores with people that are using all their money that they're getting from the federal government? I think Paris should be incredibly excited about the bailout of France, what we have done so far. The reality is that the pandemic and cash have nothing to do with each other. Our economy is doing phenomenal. If we'd like to have massive runaway inflation, then go ahead. Go spend $3.5 trillion and forget about ever hiring another employee again for your company. Folks like Senator Sanders have never operated a business in their entire life. So they don't really, they're just talking about a socialist system.
Yeah.
Listen.
It almost makes the Swedes look cheap when you really go through the $3.5 trillion and what it pays for. Mayor, good to see you as always. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. After the debacle in Afghanistan, the political fight in Washington, well, is the president in danger of losing all of his political capital? The question from The Hill: can Biden make a comeback, in fact, win a re-election campaign after everything? All right, let's look at what's happening behind the scenes at the White House. We're going to turn to Phil Wegman of Real Clear Politics. Phil, appreciate you being here with us. All right, is the White House somewhere between scared and panicked, or totally calm?
They're projecting calm publicly, but they know the same thing that all of us do, which is that Biden, when he campaigned on that central promise that he was going to be the elder statesman who could come in, put a steady hand on the wheel. He could restore our image abroad and then sort of be the adult in the room to end the partisan bickering in Washington and actually get something done. Since then, however, we have seen crises abroad in Afghanistan, and now we are facing a pretty uphill slog for Democrats as they try to get infrastructure actually done into the finish line these next couple of weeks as Congress balances not just the president's infrastructure package and the spending, but also the debt limit. This is going to be pretty trying time.
Philip, you and I have been talking about Infrastructure Week since 2017, I think. Is there any reason to think that this week is different, or you just kick the can down the road? What happens if neither of these bills get passed?
Yeah, if neither of these things get passed, then they're really in hot water. Look, Biden sees his #1 accomplishment as unseating Trump, right? He feels like he did that and he restored the public in that way. Now the question is, is he actually going to get something accomplished? And to your point, I think when the White House was looking around, when they were looking for the president's first big lift, they thought infrastructure makes sense because it's generally bipartisan, because, the last guy, the former guy, tried to do this and failed. Certainly we can do better, but they're finding out that sometimes Infrastructure Week lasts a lot longer than 7 days and can be a real headache.
Real quick, I want to get your thought on this because the mayor brought up the idea of inflation. This is just gas prices, for example. Last year, $2.20, today $3.18, almost a 50% increase. Is that something the White House even privately will say they're worried about or not?
I think that the White House has been pretty coy on this. Earlier in the summer, if you remember, they were touting the fact that a 4th of July barbecue was actually 16 cents cheaper than in the past. It's kind of a strange soundbite, but they are feeling the pinch here. They're looking not just at the fact that gas prices are up, but they're also looking at the fact that it's more expensive to put a meal on the table for your family because beef, pork, and poultry, those are more expensive as well.
Yeah, up double digits, indeed.
Absolutely. And
Phil,
so their answer here,
I got to run. I'm up against a
ahead.
hard break, but I appreciate it. We're going to continue to read your reporting, realclearpolitics.com. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, Leland.
All right. Facebook, get this, well, they want to be your bank. Why this might actually be the end of Mark Zuckerberg's attempt to take over the world. And thousands of flags in memory of those who died in 9/11 ripped up. Why the university this happened to is facing a huge backlash today. At Washington University in St. Louis, the college Republicans placed 2,977 small American flags on campus. The display was a remembrance of 9/11, each flag representing a victim of the attacks from 20 years ago. But a student senator named Fidel Akalani allegedly removed the flags. We say allegedly, but here's video of him doing it. He did it on Saturday, on the 9/11 anniversary, and then threw all the flags in trash bags. In a statement, Akalani said the display disrespected non-Americans who died in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. University officials have condemned the action, but have not said if the man you see here is going to face any repercussions, academic or otherwise. Matthias Mayesh is the former president of the WashU College Republicans, which put on the display, involved in the organization, still here after graduation, joins us now. All right. At the outset, we should say the most charitable explanation you could give to this young man is that he's highly misguided. My father taught me to never punch down, so we'll move his actions aside for a moment. What have you thought about what you've heard from the school?
Personally, I think the response has been rather inadequate. This student vandalized a memorial to 2,977 innocent Americans. He should be expelled from the university. I understand he will face his due process through the university and through the law. But if he's not expelled, I would be ashamed of my university, in all honesty.
Do you feel as though they took it as seriously as they should have initially, the university?
I think they did take it seriously. I think the university is actually starting to feel the heat, though. Our university tends to have a bad habit of waiting until the last moment, until the media is on them, until they feel the heat to react. It has happened countless times. It has happened 3 years ago, actually, with another incident where an article came out in our main student-run publication, which
think
said
it's because
it's okay that conservatives don't feel...
I guess what I'm asking
Sorry, go ahead.
There's all sorts of schools that sort of have this liberal bend, and we've seen this before where conservatives really get cracked down on campus and liberals say things and get away with it. Do you think it's because the school's worried about the backlash if they come out too forcefully, or they're just true believers in the liberal cause?
In this case, they fear the backlash. I actually do know that Chancellor Martin is upset with some of these groups and some of the threats that they have made against the university if expulsions. It's happened before. He's called these groups beyond ridiculous, actually.
Wow. Wow. Appreciate you being here with us. And as this goes on, we understand that the chancellor has called now at least one of these acts reprehensible. That clearly, shall we say, Washington University's position has evolved, and we're working on trying to get somebody from the school on to talk to us. Appreciate you being with us. Thanks for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, Facebook already has a lot of access to your life and personal data. Despite this, Facebook wants yet another avenue into our lives. Not satisfied with merely having access to our data, the company is working to launch a digital wallet app that would then give Facebook direct access to your bank accounts. Earlier today, the Wall Street Journal reported that Facebook gave celebrities and countless other high-profile users special treatment, exempting them from the rules that everybody else has to follow on the platform. The news couldn't have come at a worse time for the social media tech behemoth. In a recent interview with Axios, the head of Facebook Financial admitted that the company is suffering from trust issues with the general public. Imagine why. We've come over to our touchscreen to give you an idea of just how much Facebook has made themselves a part of your everyday life, whether you like it or not, opt in or not. If you use Facebook on your phone, say, okay, the company can track your every movement, access your microphone, and even use your photos to build out facial recognition database. And of course, the company owns the messaging apps WhatsApp here, Instagram, and Oculus as well. They make headsets for virtual reality. But Facebook and its sister apps don't need a microphone to target you with specifically eerie ads and posts. Companies like Amazon, the NBA, American Express, even the Postal Service notify Facebook when you use your websites. That's all the logos right down here. Not to mention all of the apps on your phone that you log on to, for example, DoorDash, Hulu, LinkedIn. If you have those on your phones, will those access your Facebook accounts as well? Morgan Wrights, the chief security advisor for cybersecurity firm SentinelOne, former senior advisor with the State Department. Morgan, now Facebook wants to have a bank. Do they leverage all the data that we just talked about for that bank?
You know, Leland, if Facebook were a country, they're twice the size of China. So now you're talking about the power to influence information and stories. And to your point, now you want to give them access to people's financial accounts. If you think manipulating information in the media and the narrative was a problem, wait until you can wrap that around with a financial incentive to do what Facebook wants you to do. So to me, this is Orwellian in nature in terms of how broad Facebook wants to be in our lives.
Facebook's had sort of a complicated relationship with privacy. We reported last week, as a matter of fact, that they create these privacy advocacy groups that they then pay to praise Facebook. Right. Is this the kind of thing, this banking software, that might actually get them into the sphere of being federally regulated?
You know, they want to get into cryptocurrency. They renamed it to Diem. They moved their headquarters from Sweden back over to the United States and said, look, they're going to tie their cryptocurrency to the tag, tie it to the US dollar. They're going to follow the regulations. But I've seen this movie before, Leland. I know how it ends. It's Facebook coming to the hearing saying, yes, Senator, yes, Congressman, Congresswoman. They say all the right things, but then guess what? They go off and do the same things. We had Cambridge Analytica. We had all of these different things where they said they don't do this. Then we turn around and we find out, yes, you do this. So to me, if Facebook wants to get into this realm, I think this is the time for the thing that they need to divest themselves of a certain company. And look, we've broken up monopolies before. Facebook is clearly a monopoly in the social media space. They've got 4 of the 5 top social media platforms in the world.
Yeah, except for Twitter. There were some slides that the Wall Street Journal got their hands on from Facebook that basically said they had this secondary system for celebrities, journalists, politicians, that they didn't have to play by the same rules as everybody else, despite the fact that Facebook says, oh, no, everybody has to play by the same rules. We're putting the slides up on the screen right now. The question would be, does the fact that they do this, yes, it's line proves they're lying. But does it change their liabilities or any kind of regulation that can be taken against them?
That's a good question. I'm not qualified in that area other than, look, back in the days when I was being a detective, I've worked with the folks from the Department of Justice. If you say one thing and you put it out there, especially when you start dealing with financial instruments, cryptocurrency things where the Federal Reserve gets involved, banking regulation gets involved, I'm just thinking that they're stepping into a minefield here. At some point, somebody is going to say, you're doing this here, but you're doing this here. It becomes disparate treatment. It could violate certain federal laws. I think that this is a minefield they've stepped into. But I think it's because Zuckerberg wants to have, this is the last element, kind of the triumvirate, that he wants to bring things together with people, their information, and now their money. If he gets control of that, you're talking about something that will be very difficult to unwind.
Yeah, difficult to break it up once it becomes that intertwined. Hey, great seeing you as always. Thank you. Excellent conversation. We're smarter for it. Osama bin Laden's former second in command is resurfaced in a new video 20 years after 9/11. So, does this prove that al-Qaeda is regrouping? Plus, crime's rising in U.S. cities. Now one mayor wants to sue street gangs in civil court to stop the bloodshed. Why not just lock the gangbangers up? The world's bullies are getting frisky these days, putting new pressure on America's military. North Korea says it successfully test-fired several new long-range missiles over the weekend, hitting targets more than 900 miles away. It's the regime's first known test in 6 months. Puts U.S. forces in Japan well within range and comes amid a stalemate in nuclear negotiations with the Biden administration. Ukraine's president is warning about the potential of an all-out war with Russia amid an increase of Russian forces on the Ukrainian border. Now, Russia and the former Soviet ally Belarus is conducting joint military drills involving some 200,000 troops, suggesting their cooperation could expand in the region. Obviously, there's a lot of NATO countries who are, shall we say, paying attention. Well, and the Ayatollahs in Iran are back at it once again. U.S. Defense Forces say it shot down 2 Iranian drones attacking an airport in the Kurdish-held part of Iraq on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. There were no injuries or damage reported from the drones that were intercepted by U.S. anti-drone systems. Well, he's back, but not in a good way. 20 years today after the worst terror attack on our soil, al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri has resurfaced in a new video marking 9/11. Well, he was supposed to be dead, at least we thought he was. Nearly a year after he was rumored to have died is when this video came out. It's unclear exactly when the video was recorded, although he did reference events earlier this year. Al-Zawahiri was Osama bin Laden's number 2. He reportedly made anti-Jerusalem remarks, discussed a raid in Syria in January, and mentioned the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, but did not reference the Taliban's full takeover. Also called for more attacks against the West. Leah Gabriel ran intelligence networks in Afghanistan, served as the U.S. Special Envoy for Global Engagement. The State Department joins us now. Leah, we've been talking about sort of the dangers of withdrawing from Afghanistan. Case in point that we thought this guy was dead, and turns out he's not.
Well, Leland, I think that what we have to recognize, and you mentioned all of these different situations with our adversaries and our competitors, is that, the strength of America is always being watched. Our position and how much we're willing to put on the line is always being watched by adversaries and competitors worldwide. So as a U.S. diplomat serving overseas, when you are representing the U.S., nobody thinks of you as whether you're representing the Biden administration or the Trump administration or the Obama administration. They see you as an American. And that's really what we have to look at right now as we're looking at the global picture with our competitors and allies, is how America is being viewed and how we're going to be tested. New administrations are always tested. So we're going to, of course, see that. And we're going to see leaders across the globe trying to assess what our current administration, what our current leadership is willing to do when they try to test our mettle. You referenced, Afghanistan. I think that right now that's what everyone's watching, is how it quite frankly is embarrassing that the U.S. has found itself in this situation with such a quick withdrawal and such a not well thought out and prepared for withdrawal.
Let's talk a little bit more about Afghanistan. What's at risk there? Obviously, there's the global view in terms of how we're viewed because of our withdrawal, and then there's specific to Afghanistan. Here's Leon Panetta, obviously served Democrats for most of his life, ended up as defense secretary. Here's him talking about Afghanistan.
I think they will plan additional attacks on our country as well as elsewhere. We've got a lot of different ways to gather intelligence, but we're going to need strong intelligence on the ground to keep track of these terrorists.
That sort of goes back to the issue. If we thought Ayman al-Zawahiri was dead and turns out he's alive, it tells us our intelligence in Afghanistan is not that great, right?
Well, I think when you talk about intelligence, ultimately, as Panetta just referenced, you really need to have good sources on the ground. And that's what's at stake right now with withdrawal, is that the source networks that we've built over years and years, those are extremely damaged. I don't even know what the current status is of them right now. Now, that being said, I have not seen the intelligence assessments of this video. That'd be a really interesting thing to see, because right now we're in a time in the world where the PR piece is always an important piece. So this is obviously a PR video that is being used to exploit the current situation. But I think the question is, what do we actually know within the intelligence community? And that's something that I wouldn't talk about if I did know right now. So
a good place to end. Leah, thank you. Things you say, even are allowed to say, we appreciate. Good to see you. All right. It's been another deadly weekend in the nation's third largest city, that being Chicago. 60 people were shot since Friday night, and more people were killed in shootings. Get this, 7 victims then died of COVID, with 5 deaths reported in the city from this weekend. Now Chicago's mayor, Lori Lightfoot, has announced a new plan for the city to combat gang violence. Here it is.
We have an opportunity to bring these violent street gangs into civil court, out of the shadows, expose them for what they are, and if we're successful, and I think we will be, take their assets and the profit motive for killing our babies.
We bring in Anna Devolantes for stories like this, WGN Chicago radio host, longtime reporter in the city. Anna, I don't know if any of us have great sources inside the street gangs, but does Mayor Lightfoot, you think, honestly believe that the Crips and the Bloods are now suddenly going to clean up their act?
It's an excellent question. You're asking exactly the question all of us as Chicagoans are asking. Is this really going to make a dent in crime? Because I think for those of us who live in cities like Chicago with a violent crime problem, Leland, we're all anxious for solutions. I certainly count myself in that category. But when I talk to attorneys who have dealt with these kinds of crimes in the past, when I talk with police officers who have handled these kinds of asset seizure kinds of things in the past, they tell me they're not very optimistic, very little hope that these kinds of strategies will actually make a dent in crime. Here's the problem. I mean, you're pointing it out exactly the issue there, Leland. 25 years ago, you had huge gang hierarchies and you had multiple layers of people who answered each other and probably lots of assets too. Now you might have 2 or 3 15-year-olds fighting over control of one city block. What kind of assets does a 15-year-old have? They certainly don't own a home. They probably don't own a car. They might have a few $100 in their pocket. So what are those kinds of assets really going to do? Those who have handled these cases in the suburbs for 20 years say they've prosecuted hundreds of these, and really it's amounted to barely anything when it comes to money.
When you're spending your life worried about being in business or being competitors to people who settle scores with guns on a routine basis, we saw the crime stats. Why would the mayor think that this would have any kind of effectiveness at all? Or is it simply trying to say she's doing something when what she doesn't want to do is re-empower the police force?
Well, here's what I think. There is something else actually going on here behind the scenes. And I've looked into this, Leland. I think this is sort of a way the city is saying to the prosecutor's office and the county courts that we don't trust you to take these kinds of things seriously. This is kind of a workaround, if you will, in some ways, to say we're going to bring these cases to court, and gang crimes that you don't consider to be very serious, like possession or other kinds of crimes like that, will now be in your hands, and there'll be more pressure on you to prosecute them and to bring them through the courts. There'll be more scrutiny, I guess you could say. I mean, it is illegal for a gang member to associate with another gang member in the state of Illinois. It's illegal for them to possess weapons. These are rarely ever prosecuted, and I think this is sort of the workaround. Some people are telling me that this is what they're trying to do, to say, okay, courts, we don't think you're taking these kinds of things seriously. Maybe now you will.
Well, I guess we'll see with the crime numbers and how many people die on a weekly basis here and the weekend basis here. Anna, good to see you. Thanks.
Sadly true. Yeah, you too, Leland.
All right. It is harder and harder to be an unvaccinated American. There are new restrictions, and yes, I said new, even over the weekend, for those unwilling to get the shot. Taking to the streets protesting the city's vaccine passport that is now needed to participate in any indoor activities, eating at a restaurant, going to see a movie, even going to the gym. You might remember a few months ago, we showed you this video of police in Paris going table to table checking vaccine passports and wondered if we were next. Well, we are, at least in New York. Today, the health department is going around asking people to show their proof. Businesses that don't check vaccination status risk being fined. And you might remember a few weeks ago, we also wondered if vaccines would be required to fly. Well, that might be coming as well. Anthony Fauci, I would support that if you want to get on a plane and travel with other people, that you should be vaccinated. Dr. Bob Lahita, a clinical professor at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School. Tyler Hollinger owns Festival Cafe on the Upper East Side of New York. Tyler, we understand you're closed today because you can't find any workers. Different story, but connected. So does that mean tomorrow you've got to prepare for the vaccine checkers? Are you ready?
Yeah, so what we've done here at Festival is a very simple self-check-in system with QR codes. Look, the bottom line is I'm not going to throw anybody out who's unvaccinated. I'm not going to get confrontational because now I'm not here to do the policing that the city of New York should be doing.
Doesn't that mean you're going to get fined, though?
No. We're following all of the standards. The signage is up. Every New Yorker knows the situation. We're just asking you to do the job of the check-in, because otherwise I don't have the money to hire somebody to do it for you.
So how have you figured out how this is going to work in terms of people getting checked? Because we understand the people who are going around checking, if you're checking, don't have to be vaccinated. So does that mean they can come in unvaccinated to your restaurant?
That's precisely what it means. Here in New York City, the individuals who are going to be doing the checking and the fining don't have to be vaccinated themselves. It's hypocrisy on a next level. This clown show in New York City never seems to end.
Hey, Doc, bigger picture here in terms of the new restrictions that are coming, because we know they are. We've been talking about it for a while. Anthony Fauci saying he would support vaccinations for air travel. This is the headline tear from a DOD study a couple of months ago. It's almost impossible to get COVID-19 on an airplane, new military study suggests. So, Doc, the question would be, if settled science that you can't get the virus on a plane, and they're going to require a vaccine to be on the plane, this seems to be almost a little bit more about punishment than protection from the virus.
Yeah, that may be the case, Leland, because we do know that air quality on airplanes is fairly good. And you know that the airlines have had major problems enforcing the mask rule. In fact, fights have broken out, etc. So I really feel very strongly that people who aren't vaccinated should just wear masks until they're ready to eat in restaurants. And on airplanes, they should wear masks if they're not vaccinated, but everybody else should not have to wear masks. So that's really good public health. And, you know, that will be the case on buses and trains as well.
You're thinking about this issue about being vaccinated or not. The other option would be, we know that if you've had COVID, it's difficult to get it again. Dr. Fauci was asked whether having had COVID and recovered should also qualify for an immunity passport. Take a listen.
I get calls all the time. People say, I've already had COVID, I'm protected, and now the study says maybe even more protected than the vaccine alone. Should they also get the vaccine? How do you make the case to them?
You know, that's a really good point, Sanjay. I don't have a really firm answer for you on that.
I guess you got to give the points for honesty, right, Doc?
Right. I think your immunity is just as strong or even stronger after you've been infected. But we want everybody to be vaccinated who has been infected. And, you know, this
can you explain that logic? Why, if I had COVID, which I did, a bad case,
right,
and I did get the vaccine, but why should I have gotten the vaccine?
Well, it all comes down to immunogenetics, which is a complicated process that suggests that just because you've been infected, or in fact, just because you've had the vaccine, doesn't make you immune. So that's a big quandary, and that's scientific. We know that there are breakthrough infections with people who have been vaccinated, and some of them get very, very sick. So one cannot predict. I've been saying this for a year. Can't predict who's going to be sick and who's not.
Tyler, if you figured out what you're going to do when somebody comes in who says that they don't have the vaccine and they still want to come and sit down and eat, are you going to have to be the one to throw them out, or one of your hostesses or servers?
No, absolutely not. And also, if you look at the fine print in all this mumbo jumbo, there's something the city is doing called reasonable accommodation. You can reasonably accommodate somebody by putting them next to the window, by putting them in the back. We have 3 lovely seating situations: sidewalk, cabana, chalet, dining room, bar. There's such a wealth of opportunity to choose from, and everyone who comes to Festival supports what we're doing and loves it.
Doc, last question for you. Are we going to have to learn at some point to live with COVID without changing our everyday lives, in the sense that you just can't manage this to zero?
Yeah, well, 2 things, Leland. One is, I think we're approaching herd immunity, which is good news.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. If we have herd immunity, then we're all sort of protected.
That's the best thing I've heard all show, and we're going to end it there. Good news. Doc, good to see you. Tyler, let us know how opening goes tomorrow with the vaccine checks, all right?
Will do.
All right. See you gentlemen then. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cryptocurrency got a big bump this morning after a press release said it was partnering with a corporate giant. Well, there's a lesson in there coming up. We'll tell you what it is. The phrase fake news is something you're probably sick of hearing. Certain politicians said it ad nauseum the past 4 years, but today, actual fake news sent cryptocurrency into a frenzy. It was a fake news release on a global news wire sent out this morning. It said corporate giant Walmart had announced a major partnership with Litecoin. It's a cryptocurrency. I'd never heard of it. And would begin accepting the cryptocurrencies at stores. The announcement skyrocketed Litecoin's price up nearly 30% in less than an hour. Prices plunged again when Walmart released this statement denying any involvement with Litecoin. Litecoin's official Twitter account followed suit. Newswire says it's looking into how the fake news got put on its distribution list. Just goes to show you, fake news is real. You should only trust newsworthy anchors, trustworthy anchors like myself or like Marnie Hughes, who's up next with Prime.